Hello, my dear friends. We have been very, very fortunate and blessed to have not been affected by the fires. And I know so many of you have been asking and wondering how we are. We had some damage from the high winds that very first night on Tuesday. That was the night that the winds were 75, 80 miles an hour. And that's when the horrible fires really began. Today is Friday morning, and everything is still pretty much not contained. A few more fires have broken out, and one thing that Moosey and I and our whole family are as concerned as, not only with the families that have lost homes and lives, but we have several grandsons, and our oldest son, Billy, involved on the opposite end of this as firefighters. Now, I might as well start at the beginning, which was on Tuesday. And that morning, I was trying to separate cactus plants, if you remember in my last video. So I did get an old blanket, and I did wrap that one big cactus completely around, and did get the whole thing out of the pot and separated them, and I got about 9 or 10 different ones. But then I realized I didn't have any cactus medium or potting soil, which did involve some perlite. And so I thought, well, let's go to Walmart. So I began my journey. The winds were not really doing anything at all, but we did have warnings about high winds coming. So I left the house probably late morning, and I did have to do some food shopping as well, but I did go and get some cactus medium and some potting soil and some clay pots for the new plantings that I would be doing. And when I came out of Lowe's, or was it Walmart, I experienced, and this was probably around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So at this point, I wasn't aware of anything going on. But when I was finished at the end of the day, I came out of Walmart, and the wind practically blew me away. Look at me. I just came out of Walmart and put all my food and everything away in the back of the car, and I almost got blown away. It is so windy. People were losing their food running down the driveway. As I was driving home, I realized I was totally out of gas. And by the way, in emergencies like this, you should always have your car completely gassed up. I've realized that before. And at any rate, I had to make a stop before I began to come up the hill to where we live. And I got a call from Moosey as I was pulling into the gas station. And he said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm just getting gas. I'll be home in a little while." He said, "Things are really bad up here. When you come home, don't stay outside. Don't worry about the food in the car. Just get in the house fast." And I didn't realize what he was talking about until I started to go up the hill, and I could see the San Gabriel Mountains ahead of me with a glow, winds going, and up here there's mostly palm trees around, and the palm trees were swaying. And as I came up the driveway, I couldn't believe it. As you know, we have quite a few palm trees here. So I did come into the house. I think I just brought my milk. I didn't have anything for the freezer, a few other things. Came in the house, and Moosey was riveted to the TV watching what was going on. And that was the point where the fires began, and it is still going like crazy. The palm trees were what fascinated me at that point. I didn't hear too much about fires on the TV yet, but I took some pictures of the palm tree swaying. They are so tall, you would think they would break in half. But things were whipping up. We're up on a high hill, looking down into a basin, and beyond that, the San Gabriel Mountains to the north. We can also see to the west. Well, I made supper. We sat, and as we watched the devastation on TV, by 10 o'clock that night, things were were horrible. Colleen's husband, Micah, I think you know, is a news anchorman, and he left about 4 o'clock and was on until after midnight on air with these fires. And at about 10:30, I heard Moosey and I all night heard the banging around of things outside, just figuring it was nothing. And I was not prepared with anything covered up outside or off tables or whatever. We were in the process of switching things. As you can see, the mantle has been de-Christmased and all the live greens and everything are out. I have had Aiden and Shannon and Margie's husband here helping to get everything out. Christmas tree is gone. I'm back in front of my windows again. And I walked into the kitchen about 10:30. Colleen called. I was on the phone and she said, you know, I'm looking out the window and I can see the flames of a fire that seems very, very close. They're high and it seems to be spreading by the minute. And she said, I think we ought to think about evacuating. I'll call Micah, because by this time, of course, he was on air. And I thought to myself, evacuate. That is the first time that anything like that had ever entered my mind, no matter where we were living, whether it was at Fort Knox, Kentucky for several years when Moosey was in the Army, and we did have those tornadoes and horrible hurricanes, and back east where we had severe snowstorms. I don't think we were ever in any hurricanes, maybe a couple times at the shore in the summer, but never experienced winds. Oh, the earthquakes, of course, here in California. We've been through years and years of those ever since the early 70s. Some quite severe. One here in Southern California back in the, I think the 80s. While I was standing in the kitchen talking to Colleen on the phone, I heard this horrible, it sounded like almost like a tornado rushing through, and it must have been a rogue gust of wind, really high, 80 mile an hour or more. The winds were high to begin with, rushed through, and then a serious bang, bang, clatter. And Colleen said, she was looking out the window, she said, oh my gosh, there goes your patio. Well, our patio is anchored by 4 iron posts on the sides, quite heavy. And for 20 years, it's been fine. It's been through all kinds of weather. And evidently, the whole thing took off, not just the canopy on top, but the whole thing, including the iron pillars, sailed through the air and landed halfway on my car upside down. I was afraid to open the door. Of course, I didn't, because the winds were still howling. Evidently, at the same time, we have a big, heavy iron swing, and that was lifted. That had a canopy on top and also went on the car on the side. Several tables were blown up and side down, and I heard breaking of pottery and ceramics, and, well, the next day I saw what had happened. It's 7:30 Wednesday morning, and this is what I've come out to. Oh my gosh, the cleanup. The footings of the patio are upside down. The patio is gone. I don't know what I've lost in there. Seat cushions and oh my gosh. I can't even get around here. It looks like my car. I hope the window isn't broken. Lucy's umbrella is down. Oh. The swing is upside down. Once again, hit the side of the car. Everything's upside down. Oh my gosh. My planters on the ground damaged, but oh gosh, our brand new arbor. Oh my gosh, look at this table. Oh, the jasmines. Looks like the patio might be destroyed. It's just amazing what survives and what doesn't. I guess that's the area of most destruction in there. It does look like almost a tornado hit, doesn't it? Oh my gosh. Pot's gone from all across here. Oh, you don't want to go out there, believe me. No. Here's where one bird feeder wound up. No. No, it's no good out there. I don't want you to get lost. No fires here, but Colleen did call Micah, and he said, no, there is not a fire where you think it is. You are looking at the Altadena, Pasadena fires, and they are so bad and so high that you are seeing the flames, which she was. So we realized that we were not that close. Obviously, we smell the smoke, we see the ashes, we see the haze, and the air is terrible. We are in the LA Basin, which is what they call the LA Basin. And but we were not within evacuation areas that connected to this, nor have they been. There was one false alarm last night that came through on the phone. I know, do you get those alerts on your phone? I mean, it was scary, and it said there is an evacuation in your area, get out now. I called Colleen, she called Micah, and he said evidently that was a mistake. It went out to the whole basin. Lots of people were calling in about it. About half an hour later, it was a good half hour, we did get a message that said, sorry, that was a mistake. It's an alert somewhere else. So that was okay. Before Colleen heard back from Micah about the evacuation the night she was looking at the flames, which this all happened Tuesday night, by the way, I thought to myself, I have never really thought about evacuating and what I would take or what we would take with us if we had just maybe an hour to get out. And I have always wanted to get out the things that I think are important to us when we pass, and what I wanted to save for the children and the grandchildren. And so I hopped out of bed. I think Moosey thought I was a little crazy, but I started going around putting things in a bag. Can you believe this? That I would need in case we left. Now, this was not an immediate, grab your phones and your computer and run thing, or just grab your pets. This was if we had maybe an hour. And I went around the house taking what I thought would be important. Now, someone who is 87 years old, like myself, would be in a completely different position than a young family with young children who have perhaps just been a brand new house for a while, or perhaps a couple who has just retired. Maybe they're in their 50s, maybe they're in their 60s, and they have quite a number of years left in their lives to rebuild or to carry on. In this case, Moosey and I are kind of on the opposite end. We don't know what God has in mind for us now at this point. We do know that obviously it's not very long compared to the wonderful time that we have spent here on earth. So my thinking went toward, only specific things that I thought perhaps should be saved for children, grandchildren. So I thought you might be interested in just seeing some of these things that I've picked. And I would be interested in what you might think you would put into a bag if you had to leave your home and thought perhaps your home might not be standing there when you came back. Now, God bless all those people within the past few days where this has happened to. And my situation is nothing like that. And all I know is that we are praying for all those people who have been in that position, who have not had the chance to think about what they might, all they would grab is children and pets and leave as quickly as they could. My situation is just a little aside that I thought might be of interest to you. And by the way, at the same time that I would be preparing, let's say, for an evacuation, I would also be doing the task that I've been meaning to do of setting aside those special things that my mother did, and I remember, and she would put save on there. And after my mother died, my father had died, I found these things, and it was so easy for me to realize that this was what my mom, in her mind, wanted to save for us. So it was already done. And I thought, well, maybe this is the time that I can do that as well. And I'm going to show you some of the things. Some are something you might expect, and some might be just as they were to me when I decided to pick up this, especially two specific items. So first of all, it would make common sense to grab your medications, to take your passports, your important papers, your phones, iPads, and computers, in which case we would hope that most photographs over the years would be on there. Now, we have transferred, ever since that technology has been available, a lot to our computers. However, I still have tubs of photographs of family growing up. We have been married, it'll be 65 years, I think, this year. And it's an awful lot of photos out there that aren't on computers. I know that the kids over the past 10 years have gone through some tubs, but I don't think they've been through all of them. But so I'm trying not to think about all of that. So beyond the important papers, the passports, the computers, the things you would think about right away. And I had a big bag going. I didn't actually have the computers in there, and one of the first things I thought of were the prayer books and the rosary beads of my mother and father. And I have a lot of little ones that when I did go back east after my father and mother died, I did find these very safely set in their top drawers. And some of them have places set that they have prayer cards in certain things that they had been reading. And one of them that I saw was my father's set on a prayer, praying for a happy death. And I've left that in that place. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? So I have these. Now, I still haven't gotten to those rosary beads, so I can't show you those. But I thought that's important right there. So my thoughts were first to think of my mother and father, only because I wanted the children to have some memories from them. And I have been giving away some of my mother's jewelry. She didn't have a lot of fancy jewelry, but recognizable things. One thing I always remembered was a ring that she constantly wore, a beautiful filigree big silver ring that her father had given her on her 16th birthday. And she wore it all her life. I always remember it. And when her fingers got too thick with arthritis, she had it taken off and made into a necklace. I believe one of the daughters has that right now. But there are still a few things left. One is just a simple cross that she bought in Ireland. I don't know whether this is it, or there's another one that has a few little gems in it. Oh, I did find my mother's cross. I've always been meaning to put a few little gems in there. They're not real, but it would be nice to fix this up and put this in the collection to be handed down. Now, you know I love my jewelry. A lot of costume jewelry, anything. I didn't even think about that. I thought, first of all, of some of the special jewelry that I had that Musi had given me that goes way back. Once I remember when we were in Spain, and we were probably in our late 20s, and he bought me a beautiful lapis lazuli blue stone bracelet. So I thought, well, that should be saved.
And we were in Spain.
Yeah, we were in Spain. And meanwhile, I have collected more lapis lazuli, a pendant and a ring that goes with it too. So I thought that was nice to pass on. He has given me some beautiful blue sapphire bracelet and a matching ring, which I have in a box and want to save for a granddaughter, perhaps, someone. And then, oh, by the way, here are the little charm bracelets. And on a couple of these charm bracelets, there's even the gold rings that my father's mother and father wore right here. These are hanging on a charm bracelet that was my mother's. And these rings right here, these gold bands, were my father's mother and father's. But so there's so many little things like that that you think of. And all the things that you think mean so much to you presently don't. And one thing that was very important to me, I've told you about the bluebird that my father gave me. Oh gosh, I was probably in my teens, maybe my early 20s. We used to sing this. I played the song Bluebird of Happiness. I've told you this before. And we used to sing together, harmonizing. And I've kept this all these years. His tail has broken off a little, but I thought somebody would want this. I do have some pins. I forget what you call these. These are from Scotland. And these I wear when I wear my Scottish outfits, particularly on St. Paddy's Day. I have a collection of these. I wear them on hats, and they're those silver, they're very vintage. I have a beautiful one in a different color here, and I thought these should be for daughters, granddaughters, whoever. The other things that were in a saved box were pieces of jewelry that the children had given me years and years ago when the kids were like teens and younger, and on birthdays and things they would give to me. This is my watch, by the way, that I spoke about. But here is a locket that Mikey and Colleen gave to me when they were both in junior high. And their pictures are in here in this little gold locket. And I'm sure Colleen and or Mikey might like this someday. Isn't that cute? They put their pictures in here, gave me this. And then I do have that heart necklace. I think you've seen that. Oh, by the way, this is a ring of my grandmother's. Once again, my father's mother. And it's a double diamond with an emerald in the middle. It's an unusual ring, isn't it? That's with my father's stuff. But these are charm bracelets of my mother's. I do have two myself that would probably be saved. And then the children gave me this, and I wear this on Valentine's Day. And this is just a necklace of hearts, all hearts. I love that. So that's what's important to me, other than my family. Now here are the two very strange things. These were in my father's bureau in his top drawer when he died. Pocket watches. Some of them had gold chains and the fobs that you put in your pocket, some gold ones and a silver one, I believe. He was very organized, and I went through all these things that he saved, and he didn't save a lot, But there were certain things that I saw that I looked at, and this sterling silver, gorgeous little case, and I believe his mother's initials were on here, but you're going to laugh when you see this. In here are his mother's false teeth. And when she died, I guess they give them to you. And he saved these. And when he died, they were sitting in this silver little box. And I thought, I guess if my father saved these, I think he would want me to save them. Well, my father died in 1980. And since 1980, this little silver box, I have saved this. And it has been quite the story for all our children and grandchildren laughing at me that I have saved this all these years. What would you do? Tubby has said, Mom, don't worry about it. I'll take the false teeth when you're gone. So that's something that went in. Now, the other thing that I do have that is not silly, but this is really neat. This is a record, believe it or not, that was made in 1921, it looks like, or 24. My father graduated from Holy Cross College in Massachusetts in 1927, so it must have been while he was there. He was the soloist in their college glee club, and I'm sure that he was a soloist in his high school, too. He went to St. John's High School in Worcester, Massachusetts. But this is a recording of my father singing Dina, the song Dina. And I haven't heard this in a long time, but I did hear it, I guess maybe 10 years ago, and I forget who played it and on what kind of an instrument this was. But this has to be saved. And by the way, when we had a dog as kids, guess what we named the dog? Dina. So I have that. Now, the other funny thing you're going to laugh at, as I was going through all of this, look what I threw in. Is that something? This is a brand new jar of Nivea. And I thought if I had to be somewhere, especially in this dry weather where there's no humidity in the air, my dry skin is parched. You know, in a way, it's kind of good when you're old because your face gets tight. At least mine does in this weather. And I have to keep greasing up. So it's either this or Vaseline. So I grabbed this one and put it in. And I thought, with all the things that I collect and everything around here, what really means the most to you when you figure you are going to lose it all? How much does it matter? And have you ever thought about that? I think most of these poor people who have suffered in these fires probably didn't even have a chance to think about it. It happened so quickly. But if you had any ideas on this, just let me know. I am, speaking of family, I think you know that we are a family of grandsons who are firemen, and our oldest son, Billy, who I spoke about in the beginning. And firefighting is in our Billy's blood. He is an ex-LA fire captain who retired. And when he and Bonnie moved to Idaho, he was enjoying retirement, but always was wanting to know what was going on down here. And I guess as someone like that, if you know anyone who has loved his job more than my Billy has, I would be surprised. Loved what he did all those years. Right now, as we speak, our Billy is leading a convoy of 30 fire engines and trucks of all kind. Here is the convoy. Billy was just in that red truck that you saw, leading this convoy of approximately 30 trucks, firemen, strike teams, trucks with equipment in them. They're leaving above, somewhere above Boise, Idaho, here. These trucks are coming from all over Idaho, from the top of Idaho all the way down. And they should be arriving, well, they're probably here right now, and they're ready to do anything that they have to do. God bless them all. Now, Moosey, did you say water trucks or just no?
They're engines.
Engines of all sorts with equipment and men. And I don't know, probably at least 5 to 10 men attached to each fire engine. And they left Idaho yesterday morning. And we heard from him this morning where they were in Vegas. And I think they were being interviewed by a team of Vegas newsmen. And they would have probably a 4-hour drive from Vegas to LA. So they had anticipated arriving here this afternoon. And these men are ready to do whatever is expected of them. They are fire engines from all over northern Idaho, from the north of Idaho all the way down. And they have assembled to come down to LA and help out wherever they can. Now, one of Billy's specialties when he was down here, he was in charge of the planes that went up to do the airdrops, and especially in the big fires and everything. As a matter of fact, at one point he did get his helicopter license too. He had several border collies and labs who were rescue dogs, and he was all over the world doing what he loved. And I don't know whether we'll get to see him. I do know that his son, young Billy, has been fighting the fires. I know Tuesday night he was up in Altadena all night long fighting. We have 2 of Margie's sons who are LA County Fire Department people, and they have been involved in the fires too. So please pray not only for those affected, but for all firemen who are risking their lives. I want to thank all of you. So many of you were so concerned for Moosey's and my safety. And I appreciate you caring about us so much. And I want to thank Patty, Rockstar Mom, for helping to put the word out that Moosey and I are safe through all of this, and hope we continue to be. So keep praying, my friends, for all those who have been affected by this, whose families have been affected. The deaths are going up for those poor people who thought they could save their homes and did not evacuate. Please pray for all the firefighters, that include our grandsons and our son. Goodbye, my friends. I love you all so much, and hopefully I'll put up a video soon again. Love and hugs, and God do bless all of us